Hi, welcome to another edition of Business Bites from Bauer Media here in Northern Ireland. My name is David Tighe, the Managing Director of Bauer Media, and each week we take a look at a subject that we believe is worth a discussion. Well, this week I'm really pleased to welcome our guest on Business Bites. It's Brendan Gallen. Brendan is the Strategy Director of the Foundation. Brendan, welcome to the show.
Hi, David. Great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to see you. We love to get straight into the discussion, so let's crack in. The Foundation is an agency, but tell us a little bit specifically about what kind of agency the Foundation is and maybe how it's evolved since its inception.
Absolutely. So the Foundation, we are part of the Pierce Group, and the Pierce Group are a well-established, long-established, predominantly print and marketing business operating in Belfast. The Foundation, we are effectively the creative brand agency arm of the Pierce Group, and we have been operating as the Foundation for quite a number of years. There's about 35 of us in Belfast, but working on an all Ireland basis and across the US. And we're a group of people ranging from strategy and research to account management to designers to videographers, animators, copywriters. We're a bunch of creative people who wish to solve our clients' challenges, and our clients would range from a lot of private and public sector companies across the island of Ireland and beyond, as I say, and that would include the likes of Electric Ireland, S&W, Reach PLC, Dale Farm, Safe Food, and some clients in the US who are in the legal sector. So we're quite a diverse mix of clients.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an absolute hub of energy and creativity, and we always like to hear about that. Clients. So what kind of areas do you see at the minute that businesses are asking you to get more involved with?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually, because we position ourselves as a creative brand agency, and within that there's a lot of work that is in that branding arena. So it can be creating new brands, it can be looking at a refresh of a brand, and it's really interesting. Right now, what we see is certainly a trend around companies coming to us and asking us about their brands, but more so from the perspective of refresh, rethink their brand from an employee perspective. So a lot of people it's not necessarily the case that they want to rebrand sales just to target new customers or more customers. It's actually now, it's the war on talent is very, very apparent in the work that we're doing now, where a lot of clients are coming and saying, how does our brand help us attract, retain, and even motivate the best people in the marketplace? And that is really what we're seeing quite a lot at employer branding. And I suppose to really raise the awareness around employee experience and employer branding, we've commissioned and published a report on employee experience to really to make that clear to brands across UK, Ireland, and US.
Okay, so let's talk about that report that you've done. So tell us a little bit about maybe some of the key findings from that report. Some things that may have surprised you. I don't know what's in it.
Yeah, sure. So the report itself, just for background, it's made up of the views of 1,500 people, employees across UK, Island of Ireland, and the US. So there's quite a nice mix of different perspectives. There are lots of different sectors included in that as well. And I suppose the report really, I think we've called it, you might notice up here, we've called it employee experience, a source of competitive advantage. Because what we're seeing is that the employee experience, there are opportunities to improve it for a lot of employees. So what we're suggesting in a report and what we found is there are real opportunities to you look to purpose, look to culture, and look to as those areas where they can, I suppose, generate long-term competitive advantage through their people. And so there are things like, 26% of people we surveyed don't feel that their company has a strong culture. Like that is for me, that's quite an eye-opening figure. 36% of the people that say they don't feel valued by their company, say that they don't understand their company's purpose. And an even higher percentage, I think it's around 46%, are saying that their company doesn't, or their organization doesn't communicate their values well enough. So there's lots of opportunities. I don't see it as something for organizations to get downhearted about. I actually think these are great opportunities to know that there are gaps here. Those are the areas that you can target as an organization and use them to really drive your people on, attract the best people, and keep the best people.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. And I'm wondering if there's any further insight into how important values and culture are. So it's fine saying people don't know what the values are, but what difference would it make, do you think, if they did know what the values were?
Yeah, so it's a good question, David. I think in the work that we're doing with a lot of companies, there's a few different aspects to values and defining your values. And what we always find in working with clients is there's so much value, pardon the pun, in actually engaging your people right across an organization to define what your values should be, rather than pick them from a thesaurus around integrity and quality and trust. Actually engage your own people right across, understand what it is that they believe should be the values of your organization. There's so much goodwill, there's so much motivation that can be had by doing that as a piece in itself. I think then when companies define what those values are, the really important piece is obviously communicating those first and foremost, but then embedding them into the fabric of their organization. So things like your annual reviews, those values should be writ large in those, and people should be thinking, how am I working to these values, and do I live these values out? And the values themselves are a really good way of attracting the right people. If you think about it, you're trying to attract people who fit with your values and will exhibit the type of behaviors that you want. So the values are a great way of making sure that you've got the right fit people in your organization.
And how important did you think was authenticity? So again, you can have a situation where you've got words, but then does the company live up to the actions behind those words? Did that come up in the survey?
It doesn't come up in the survey, but it is probably related to that idea of engaging your people. I think when you don't engage, when for example, a piece of work around your purpose or your culture or values becomes, and you bring in an agency to do it and work in isolation, maybe work with just the management team or a small number of people, the authenticity I always think, will be questioned. The authenticity comes from that wide engagement right across your organization. That's where you get the authenticity, because it's from your people. It's the voice of your people that is shaping your purpose and your culture and your values. So I think that's a great way to build authenticity, is good engagement.
We've also had, in similar discussions in the past, there's been quite a lot of discussion around different demographics of potential employees and how certain things are more important to certain demographics than others. Have you seen any of that in your experiences?
Yeah, certainly. We certainly have. There were some geographic differences between the UK, Ireland and US. But in terms of demographics and age, we could see a lot of really interesting feedback from what we call junior level employees, particularly around cost of living. We cover cost of living in the report, and we cover working from home and returning to the workplace. And there really is a challenge, I think, for organizations in thinking about how they're supporting junior level employees on those three areas. We've kind of made a bit of a leap in what we think in terms of why that issue might exist. And for us, it might be that scenario where a lot of what organizations plan to support the organizations on cost of living and working from home and returning to work might be determined by people who are probably quite far removed from that junior level set of employees. And what we find is they have challenges. They're the most worried about cost of living, and they're the most I suppose by how their organizations are helping them work from home.
Yeah, Brendan, we could talk for another 20 minutes about this, but unfortunately time has beaten us. So my question is that if someone wants to get hold of this report, because it seems like it's got quite a lot of really interesting stuff in it, they're going to have to contact you, right?
Yeah, contact us, come to our website, thefoundation.agency. And yes, download the report for free. We have two versions. If you're short on time, we have key takeaways and something nice and digestible. If you've got a bit more time, you've got a longer version of the report. But we're open to questions, and we have a lot of data there that we can work with people to cut and to explain to people as well. So yeah, be creative, people. Download it, check it out.
Well, it sounds like a really good piece of work, and I'm sure that's just part of the story of the foundation. It's not the full story. So I'm sure if people check out your website, they'll get the full picture from you and the team there. Well, look, we wish you and the whole team all the very best in the work that you're doing. We love a bit of creativity here. And thank you so much for being our guest this week and telling us all about it.
Great. Thanks for having me, David. Really, really enjoyed it. Thanks.